Hello, hello.
Hi.
We're here for another episode of the Healer's Corner. And I feel like today would be a good topic, coffee and tea. Because let me tell you, I'm already like at least 1 cup of coffee and 2 Celsius in, and I'm ready to sleep still. So we need all the caffeine we can do today. Now, you, Maria, you are way more on the tea side, I think, right? You do more tea than you do coffee.
Tea and water. I mean, coffee is just 1 cup. I can't go beyond that. I tried, and I just go jittery and all that.
Oh, see, it is funny because tea for me, we're like the opposite. Coffee is the get up and get things done. Tea is the sit down, relax in the evening, kind of unwind. It's the relaxation drink for me. When I do drink it and when I do remember to drink it. Because a lot of times in the evening, like, I just sit down and I'm just like, I'm done. Just the thought to get up and go boil water to dip the tea bag seems so, like, more things to do, and I'd rather not go do it. But when I do make myself do it, it's very relaxing. It's very soothing. Um So I did put in our description, are you team coffee, team tea? And Sierra already says she is team tea. Um, Now, what are some of the benefits that you have for tea if somebody is looking to add that into their daily routine for, like healing or soothing or any of the sort? Because this is more in your wheelhouse, I feel.
Well, because teas are made from plants, and plants have, a great deal if they're I like the loose tea. I don't like the pre-made teas. I like it organic, or just loose, dried loose teas, and I don't know, to me, it's like the whole like you said, it's too much of an effort when you're tired to go. But for me, it's the whole process. You taking the water, you putting in the kettle, you waiting for it to boil. It's like a time for you to just slow down and just pause because you're waiting for that tea, that water to boil and making that tea. And then once you put the hot water into that loose tea, and then you just wait for it to simmer. Now, like I said, I do drink coffee, 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I need it to just get up and get going, but I can't do that all day long like you. I will never sleep.
I mean, I'm usually 1 or 2 cups in of coffee before I leave in the morning. But I'm also that person. I cannot just get up, quickly get ready, and leave. I have to slowly get ready in the day, and
Mhm.
I enjoy that morning quiet time. So, I'm up 6, 7 o'clock, in the morning and drinking, a cup or two leisurely and, kind of going through that quiet process. So that's the soothing part, at least for the
Mhm.
coffee. But I don't get that jittery, oh my God, too much, bouncing off the walls. And, it's just kind of like, okay, I'm awake and now we're going to go do things. But um, I'm kind of like envious of people that can drink coffee and just be bouncing off the walls and just be getting stuff done because I'm like still tired, still need to go do things. But you had some really good points on, tea and the different kinds of tea. And I know in your notes you had mentioned that black tea, um, is anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
What other benefits for the black tea?
Well, black tea has a little bit of a caffeine to it. So if and it's not as a high dose as coffee is, but it has a little bit of caffeine to it. So if you need that extra charge but don't wanna drink the coffee, you know, I like my coffee plain. I don't put any sugar, I don't put any, um, cream or anything. I know there's some cultures that do the cream, they do the whole thing, cream, sugar. That is great, and that's fine, but it's not for me. I tried it, and it just takes the taste of the tea away. It's like I'm just drinking something with, cream. I taste more of the cream. It has a very subtle taste to it, tea, not like coffee, because depending on the coffee, some coffee are pretty bitter, and then you
Mm.
have to add things to it just to, because you want the caffeine jolt, but you don't want the taste, you know? And for me, it's like tea is like the whole process of making it, waiting for it to simmer, waiting for it to, just embody the whole entire water. It's like it's time for you to slow down. I use it as a meditative tool also. So that's what I do with it. I know there's some cultures to use because in the Orient, in the ancient Orient, tea was one of the go-to beverage they had, and they use it for rituals, tradition, and cultural. It became a cultural thing, and also medicinal because they noticed that the plants had some vital nutrients to it, and they don't have to, they can dry it, and they don't have to keep planting and going out to the field. They can dry it. Um, my family, well, we don't use herbs, but we have tobacco plants, and tobacco is also an herb. They make cigars and stuff like that, and then there's other places that adds other added, adjective to it, but that also is a herb. And so the drying process of the tea plants, it's something that was easy for them to transport during the travels. So, and they knew the benefit of it. They could just have water, boil it, and just simmer it. And they have the healing part, the energy part of it of the plant.
So some traditions, the whole ceremony of serving tea, having tea was in of itself its own hospitality ceremony. The like tea wasn't always cheap and easy, right? So the
Mhm.
fact that you were willing to share your tea and later coffee
Mhm.
was considered an honor for the house guest or for whoever was visiting, and to share that space. So that act, so that can help when it comes to healing the connections with people. Because let's face it, having a sit down conversation with somebody, especially if you can get to the root of any sort of misunderstandings,
Mhm.
conflicts, or anything that needs to be spoken about in a nice slow atmosphere, tea or coffee. Um, exactly. A well-made tea is a different animal. It is so good. Um, I like simple black tea by
Mhm.
itself. I also like peppermint tea. That will help wake me up, but not in a caffeine way, just in the scent of the tea itself, because peppermint is very eye-opening, energizing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, using peppermint oil in essential oil is for that as well. But I find that a lot of the herbal teas, then the chamomiles, the florals, those are the ones that are more of a nighttime relaxing. They have a like heavier, if that makes sense, scent. So
Yeah.
that mental space of it's time to come down and relax. Right. It was a sign of status in some cultures on how you
Yeah.
presented it. Um,
Yes.
and I always think of those tea ceremonies with the geishas. Oh, right,
Mhm.
'cause it was very precise on how they held their hands, how they
Mhm.
poured, how they did it. It was a very mindful process, and that's something that you pointed out. in some of the notes when you were prepping me on the tea side was the mindfulness of preparing the tea, enjoying the tea, sipping the tea
Mhm.
is its own healing.
Yeah. No. I also love green tea. Green tea has a way of cleansing your system.
Mhm.
Yes, I just love the taste of it. I can drink it either hot or cold.
Yeah, the herbal tea magic for the modern witch. Um, I've referenced through this one quite a bit. Um, because I like how the book will give you the medical and the magical properties. Um, because I think that's part of the fun part when you get into brewing your own tea, be it even if it's just for taste, but if
Mhm.
you are trying to make your own, tea concoction for a health or a magical purpose, like you want a good reference book to help you with that. And this one will even give you, let me flip back to it, medical like warnings. Uh,
Mhm.
so like for the hibiscus, it can cause hypotension or hypoglycemia if taken with diabetes or blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
So those are the type of things that you want to be careful about when you are starting to dabble in making your own teas. Um, but this is a good book. Elsie Wilde's Herbal Tea Magic for the Modern Witch. And I like that it's a little hardback, so it's going to be durable to put it through its paces. Um, you said you liked green tea as well.
Mhm. I love
We'll
the
skip
green
that
tea.
one because I don't see it in this one. It might be in its own section. Now, Rubios, and if I'm saying that correctly, because we do have some teas in our store that a local tea house mixes for us.
Oh, and they're
And
wonderful.
and you know, Rubios is one of the like the bases of one of the teas. Let's see. That one that is smooth, sweet flavor with a hint of vanilla. Strength, courage, determination, patience, rejuvenation, inner peace, which I think a lot of people could use right now with
Mhm.
everything going on in the world. Grounding and dream work, health wise, increases heart health, good for healthy skin, rich in antioxidants, improves digestion and bone health. But medical warning, people who are undergoing chemotherapy should avoid taking it in large amounts. It can also act like an estrogen in the body. So if you're trying to lower your estrogen levels for any reason, avoid it. I feel like it's a good book. And if anybody
Mhm.
has any other sorts of tea you would like me to try and look up real quick, I'd be happy to do that. If you feel like you might want a copy of that, it's available on our website. Um, it's like an $18 book, which isn't bad for a little hardback. Coffee is fun. Tea is fun. Coffee wise, pulled up some research and remember how last time I was like, what's the deity over coffee? There's not one. The closest I could find was over in Somalia. A major overreaching deity who created everything is given, and that deity's name is spelled Waqa.
Mm.
Guessing it was pronounced Waka, Wakai.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, and when his favorite um, son, I believe it was put to death, he cried, and in those tears came the coffee plants and the coffee beans. So
Okay.
that is the closest I could find, but not necessarily like here's the god of coffee. Um, which I thought was interesting for as valued as coffee is, as well as tea. Um, there's not one overreaching. Now, in the Roman pantheon, there was Caffeina, yeah, but she was kind of created later. She was not, you know, the goddess wasn't first and then said, "Oh, she's over coffee." Everybody loved coffee and said, let's give that a goddess. So, not quite what we were looking for, right? But feel free if you want to start, if you want to name your coffee pot Caffeina, go for it. Maybe I'll name the Keurig in here. Um, but coffee, and I was kind of surprised to learn all the fun stuff it can do and that it helps to do. And like I was pulling some information from John Hopkins, so hopkinsmedicine.org, as well as the Mayo Clinic, because I wanted to make sure the information I gave you about coffee was correct because health is very, very important. Um, so, coffee in recent studies found that coffee drinkers are less likely to die from some leading causes in women, including coronary heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and kidneys. Coffee is known to help process glucose better, so it helps with diabetes. Less likely to develop heart failure, less likely to develop Parkinson's. Both regular and decaf coffee seem to help have a protective effect on your liver. Research shows that coffee drinkers are more likely to have liver enzyme levels within a healthy range than people who do not drink it. And dark roast coffee decreases breakage in DNA strands, which occur naturally but can lead to cancers or tumors if not repaired by your cells. And your odds of colon cancer go down, may decrease your risk of Alzheimer's, and you're less likely to suffer a stroke. So if people are telling you stop with the coffee or don't drink it, it's not good for you, two very reputable medical sites are like, no, no, it's okay. Um, Also helps with gallstones and kidney stones. Now, the the things to maybe watch out for with coffee, obviously, because of the caffeine, if you're somebody with tachycardia, you just know that it can increase your heart rate
Mhm.
and can make anxiety worse. So, if you're already having an anxiety day, maybe do the tea instead. Get the lower level of caffeine than the coffee. But um, coffee can be very beneficial in spell working. Adding coffee grounds and beans to your spells helps get things done quicker. And just about every deity will accept coffee on their altar. So if you have altar set up and you're like, I need to pay something out, coffee is almost always safe. I was surprised. Sierra was helping me look up. I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. So she's Googling and she's like, Dionysus. And I'm like, he's wine. And I'm like, oh, coffee for the hangover later. Got it. There we go, Dionysus. um, but just
Well,
about every
also you can use the loose tea, because I do that on my altar. Sometimes I just spread it around on my altar because it's still plant. It's still connected to Mother Earth. It's still connected to the elements,
Mhm.
you know, just as the coffee bean is.
So Combi says quad espresso, sweet cream, and oat milk. Probably not healthy the way I consume it. I think I'm gonna. um, well, and we pointed out last week that if you're doing a type of spell and there's an herb that you're out of and you're like, man, I really don't have time, or it's like 11 o'clock at night and the grocery store's closed. Depending on the type of tea that you're drinking, you may have it in your cabinet in a tea bag.
Mhm.
So, you don't always need a whole bunch in a spell. So cut open that peppermint, that cinnamon, that chamomile, and, get your goodies that way that you might need. Um, but so the same lady, Elsie Wild, she's got Coffee Magic for the Modern Witch, and in very, very much the same type of information and helpful stuff to look through. But I like adding coffee to some of the spell workings if you need something to happen quickly. Sade Expedite is also another deity that you can call in to get things to happen quickly. He's hence his name. He's expeditious. But coffee, ground up coffee grounds, um, can really help get things done. But I was pleasantly surprised at how healthy coffee is for you. Because for a while it felt like coffee was getting nothing but a bad rap for, it's bad for you. There's nothing good. Um, you just
Well,
need to put that down.
I think you were referring to those concoctions that you would find at Starbucks. Coffee by itself, I think, is what they're referring to is good for you. But when you
Mhm.
start adding all the other stuff,
Yeah.
just Everything in moderation.
Except for coffee. Drink the hell out of that. No, even that. No, you're right. Because a lot of these coffee houses, they taste really good, but I think you would be really surprised at how much sugar
Mhm.
is going in there. So, how much is really the caffeine helping you versus that sugar high and then that crash later
Yeah.
from that? Um, Now I will admit when I first started learning to drink coffee, in my coffee cup, maybe that much was coffee, everything else was cream and sugar. And now I hardly ever, ever, ever put sugar in my coffee. If I do, it's usually we're out at a restaurant and the coffee is so bad that not even cream by itself can fix it. So, and it's usually that bitter burnt coffee that just tastes like
Mhm.
sitting in the same carafe and just being burned. And you're kind of like, if I ask for another cup, it's just going to come from that same carafe. So, yeah, that's just the only time I'm putting sugar. I do cream, only like a little bit of cream because I am the peppermint nut. So I was really happy when peppermint creamer started staying out year round because I like adding that peppermint taste to my coffee, but not because I have to have the creamer. I want the taste to it.
Mhm.
But let's see. And another thing that it can you need to be wary of. It can cause too much coffee, ulcers, acid reflux. And I will if I get too much coffee, like I'm like, "Ooh, it starts feeling gross in my stomach," and that's too much of the acidity in the coffee. But if you sprinkle a little bit of salt into your coffee grounds before brewing, it takes some of that acidity away, and it tastes better actually.
Mhm.
Little little kitchen witch magic, but also science behind that. How to make your coffee taste better? Add salt. Who would have thunk?
Also, I know that coffee grounds, just plain coffee grounds, I don't care if it's dark roast, medium roast, whatever, it has green energy. Green energy breaks down any toxin style energy, negative energy if you bathe in it.
Oh, so make a body scrub is what you're saying.
Exactly. Take the old coffee ground, put it in there, and just let it just marinate for a day or two.
Well, I know that caffeine, is good for, the skin as well, and, like, cellulite, like, sagging and, heavy skin, it helps, um,
Mhm,
tighten that up. You can now get under eye roll-ons, and I will say that they work. Um, if you're somebody that you tend to have dark circles, just and it's usually allergy related, it's not
mhm,
necessarily always sleep, because 'cause I'm one of those, no matter how much I sleep, I always have dark circles. Those caffeine rollers actually help open up those vessels and help move that sinus pressure up and away. So, a lot of good that can come out of caffeine, not besides just ingesting it. And your coffee grounds are good for your garden.
yeah, it is. My grandmother used to use that a lot when she used to have a garden.
Did she was it around, like, roses, or was it just in general? Because 'Cause I've heard some people, like, it's only really good for roses versus the whole garden.
She did it in general, but the flowers kinda and it wasn't just roses. I
Okay.
think it had to do with the soil in Hawaii too, but anyway, that's besides the point.
Make us all wanna move to Hawaii, Maria. Very good, very good.
But, yeah, she used to put there, as well as there were others concoctions she used to do, banana peel, she used to put it also. I'm going, "Okay." But just she did her own thing.
Combi mixes hers in with the compost, and it's great.
Mhm.
So, I used to put my coffee grounds in, like, a old coffee container, and when it got to, more than just 1 or 2 days worth, I'd go throw it out,
Yeah,
in the yard. Um, so it would do something besides go sit in a plastic bag and then go sit in a plastic bag in the landfill. Figure something's gonna get a benefit out of the coffee ground. I do sometimes add cinnamon. If I'm not doing the peppermint, I'll add like ground cinnamon to my coffee for flavoring. So that's another natural way to season even your tea or your coffee with
Mhm.
some cinnamon. And cinnamon's good for prosperity too. So in your morning, you pour your cinnamon in, and if you, as you're, mixing your drink, having that affirmation of calling in like prosperity for the day is just a simple little magic thing that you can do as you're getting your day started. Now, Maria, do you find a difference in the energy of your tea depending on how you brew it, be it old fashioned steeping or, the fast electric kettle and pour over hot water and go?
I like your old-fashioned steeping. I tried the kettle. It's not that, because I do have a kettle, because if I want something kinda fast and I have my loose coffee in the filter, you know, but, I like the old-fashioned steeping for some reason. It's just a gradual, it's a time to slow down. It's a way of meditation for me.
But I think coffee and tea, just in a spiritual accent, the taking the time to brew it, to
Mhm.
be mindful of how you're creating your cup, the intention you wanna set for the day, your flavorings that you're adding can also make your cup a little spell packed that you're bringing in.
I
But
also like, I got this I have these cards also, but, Doctor Imamoto, he did the scientist on water, the properties of water, and if you speak to the water or put your intention in the water, that's another way that you can do that too.
mm,
So, if you just wanna use the cups that you have available in your house, just a plain cup, don't get something like, some kind of word in there that you don't wanna manifest into your life. But
like
just go ahead, Melissa.
like that?
Yeah, there you go. Just a plain cup. Um, and you can take an index card and you can write on the index card, handwrite it. Don't type it and print it out of your printer, handwrite it. And then you put your cup there and let it stay there for about at least 10 minutes. And it will get to a moderate, temperature for you to start sipping your cup at that point. So that's another way you can do that. I have those cards that the late Dr. Imamoto made, and I take those cards and I place my cup down. And
Mm,
it doesn't even have to be tea or coffee. I do it with water. I do it, juice, whatever I'm drinking. Except I don't drink pop.
mm.
Don't I got rid of top pop a long time ago, and it's kind of counter effective if you have this sugary drink and you decide to put some kind of prosperity or health, card
Mhm.
underneath. Yeah.
Now, I've seen people, like, in their little sugar bowls or even in their coffee canister, like, they'll put kind of like what you said, write it out on,
Mhm.
paper or whatever, and then, like, just put it in the canister.
Mhm. Yeah, you
So
can do that too.
yeah, so if you forget when you're pouring the tea or the coffee, it's already imbued, in the coffee grounds or in the sugar, in whatever. Um, that could be a safe way if you feel like you might forget sometimes.
Mhm.
To do that, right? Like a fortune coffee.
Yeah.
Um, so now my mind's already going like, well, heck, just get a card of like, you know, index card and put some
Yes,
sort of healing mantra and just stick it in the
mhm.
whole refrigerator. Do it all at once. Work smarter, not harder. Um,
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that, have fun with spirituality.
mhm.
Yeah. Um, I had fun, and I had fun doing those index card. I still have them somewhere here, but I do go into the ones that I have from Dr. Imamoto.
But yeah, coffee and tea, both very beneficial for, healing and magical properties. But I think the biggest part I think we both agree that it comes down to that mindfulness of preparing them.
Yes.
In this day and time, in the world, I think most of us are just running around, just crazy, busy schedules, busy family life, busy work life. So I think a lot of us have either just completely forgotten or just feel like you don't have the time to take that few extra minutes. I already admitted I don't want to make tea; it takes too long. Uh, to create that healing space and to work with the energies of the coffee and the tea. And, to kind of harken back to a couple episodes ago where like everything has a living entity or living consciousness. I mean, you can go so far, right, Maria, of saying
Yep.
like, talking to that tea like it's a living thing going
Yep.
to help you.
Exactly.
The plant that it came from. You don't have to know exactly where it
Hmm.
was, but just making that conscious connection to it and thanking that plant wherever it is for
Yeah.
providing that for you. So coffee and tea, huge benefits if done
Hmm.
and used correctly. And unfortunately, some of that correctly is don't load it down with sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it as plain as possible.
Coffee and tea is a good rabbit hole to go down, I think, when it comes to finding the healing things that they can help you do. And I like the idea of just connecting to the spirit of the plant, even if
Hmm.
that coffee plant was down in South America. I don't have to physically be there to send that gratitude. You know, I don't have to be wherever that tea was harvested from to send that
Hmm.
thankfulness and that plant growing out of Pachamama. So then ultimately, by way of, extension, you are thanking Pachamama, Gaia, Mother Earth for
Hmm.
providing that for you. So all part of that mindfulness. Any profound parting words, Maria?
No, I don't have any.
I feel like I need to find a book of profound, important, thoughtful,
The only thing I can
sayings.
is just play with it, play with the tea, try different flavors, find out which one you really like, and play with the index cards and the cards and put energy into it, into, intention, affirmation, mantras. You know, I do sometimes what I do is I take a CD, it's a spiritual CD like Om or something that's chanting, and I put it right next to it. Someone else is doing the work. The
Ugh,
monks are doing the work.
smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Great. Yeah, just pull up a YouTube healing chant.
Yeah.
I know on our channel, if you go and search in the lives, Nanette used to do Tuesday free energy healings, and some of those were themed for like prosperity, shadow work, and uh,
Mhm.
abundance, and good luck. And there's one specifically for little kids. So you can go back, play any of those anytime you'd like, and maybe charge your tea or coffee with any of those.
Mhm.
Your food, like pull it up on your phone while you're cooking, and even while you're cooking. Um, but thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully, you're able to catch us next Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time in the evening, in the PM, not the AM. But all right, guys, enough rambling. Thank you for joining, and
Thank you.
hope to see you next week.
See ya.